My name is Marcus Whitfield. I'm 31. I play in an adult rec basketball league that takes itself far more seriously than the league name suggests. Work as a high school guidance counselor by day and own a gym bag with a busted zipper I keep meaning to replace. The same one I had slung over my shoulder the night my best friend showed up to a game I never told her about. The game was not the point. The game was just the excuse the universe used. Her name was Adize Obi. She was 30, worked as a veterinary technician, and kept a running photo album on her phone of every animal she'd ever treated that survived something dramatic, which she called her comeback wall, and showed to absolutely anyone who gave her the slightest opening. She had a laugh that started low and built fast, like it needed a runway before it really committed. We'd been best friends for 7 years, since a mutual friend's housewarming where we'd ended up arguing for an hour about whether a particular movie's ending actually made sense, neither of us backing down. Both of us secretly thrilled to have found someone who'd argue that hard about something that small. That argument had somehow become the foundation for everything that followed. 7 years of similarly intense disagreements about things that didn't matter. A running text thread that never fully went quiet. A friendship that had outlasted 3 of my relationships and 2 of hers without ever once wavering in its own steady, comfortable footing. We were close in the way that made people assume we were either already together or never would be. No in between. A question we'd both gotten from various friends over the years, and both deflected with the same easy, practiced answer. Just friends. Always have been. No big deal. I'd mentioned the game to her once, months earlier in passing. The way you mention a hobby you don't expect anyone to actually follow up on. I never sent a reminder. Never extended a real invitation. Mostly because rec league basketball felt like a strange thing to formally invite your best friend to watch. And partly, if I'm honest with myself now, because some part of me didn't want to know whether she'd actually show up or not. She showed up. I noticed her in the third quarter, sitting alone near the top of the bleachers in a building that smelled like rubber and old popcorn, wearing a jacket that suggested she hadn't planned this far enough ahead to dress for a gym's questionable climate control. I missed an easy layup watching her instead of the ball, which my teammate Reggie never let me forget for the rest of the season. After the game, sweaty and a little embarrassed about the layup, I found her waiting by the gym doors. "You came," I said, still processing it. I wasn't going to miss this one. I didn't actually invite you. I mentioned it once, months ago, in a context that did not include an invitation. I'm aware. I invited myself. I looked up the league schedule online, which took an embarrassing amount of effort, given how badly your league's website is designed. And then I just showed up. That got the laugh out of me before I could stop it. Why this one specifically, I asked, genuinely curious, since I'd played probably 30 games over the past 2 seasons, without her ever once mentioning interest in attending any of them. She considered the question longer than I expected her to. Honestly, I don't entirely know. I saw the schedule, saw tonight's game, and just felt like I needed to be here for this particular one, even though I couldn't have told you why if you'd asked me this morning. I have poor survival instincts around answers, that honest and that unprepared. I should probably get that looked at. We got food afterward, a diner near the gym that stayed open late specifically for the league's exhausted, hungry stragglers, the kind of place with sticky vinyl booths and a menu that hadn't changed in probably 2 decades. The fluorescent lighting buzzed faintly overhead, and somewhere near the kitchen a radio played low enough to be more texture than actual music. And somewhere between the appetizers and the actual meal, the conversation drifted from easy small talk into something neither of us seemed in a hurry to redirect. "You're better at this than I expected," she said, around a mouthful of fries. "The basketball. I always pictured you as more theoretical about sports. Somehow, less actual layup, more talking about layups." That's deeply insulting and also not entirely wrong. I'm allowed both, as your best friend. It's in the unofficial contract. There's an unofficial contract? There's absolutely an unofficial contract. You'd know if you'd actually read it instead of just nodding along for 7 years. I noticed. The way you notice something you're not ready to examine in front of the person it's about. How much I'd wanted her in those bleachers tonight, without ever letting myself admit I'd wanted it. Right up until she was actually there. We stayed at the diner long past, when either of us had any logistics reason to. The conversation eventually slowing into something quieter, more careful, the way conversations do once the easy material runs out and what's left underneath starts surfacing whether you're ready for it or not. I need to say something, she said, turning her water glass slowly on the table. And I've been trying to figure out how to say it since I was sitting in those bleachers, watching you miss that layup because you got distracted. Which, for the record, I noticed and found unreasonably satisfying. That's a strange thing to find satisfying. It told me something. That you noticed I was there enough to actually lose focus over it. I've been telling myself for years that showing up for your stuff is just what best friends do. I don't think that's been the whole truth in a while. And tonight, sitting up there by myself in a gym that smells like old popcorn, I think I finally admitted to myself why I actually came. That sentence did something quiet to the diner booth. Why did you actually come? I asked, even though some part of me already suspected the shape of the answer. Because I've liked you for longer than I've let myself track. Probably years longer than is reasonable for two people who've spent 7 years insisting we're just friends to anyone who asks. I saw the schedule, and some part of me just decided I was done watching from a distance, literally and otherwise. Something in my chest didn't tighten so much as drop, all at once, like it had been holding itself up for 7 years, and had finally been given permission to stop. You don't have to keep talking, I said. We can finish these fries and pretend the last 2 minutes didn't happen, if you want the exit. She looked at me for a second too long. 1 full second passed where it would have been safe to look away, and didn't take it. I don't want the exit. Okay, my voice came out rougher than I meant it to. Then I should tell you something, and it's not about the layup. She didn't say anything. Just waited, hand still on the water glass, which from her was its own kind of loud. Every woman I've dated in the last few years felt temporary while I was dating them, like a placeholder for something that hadn't shown up yet. You've never once felt temporary, not even when you're showing me your comeback wall photo album for the 40th time, like I haven't already seen every single one. Every animal on that wall deserves recognition, Marcus. That's not the point right now. The point is, I've spent 7 years building a case for why this is just the world's closest friendship, and you just told me you showed up to a game I never actually invited you to, because some part of you was done watching from a distance. The diner got very quiet, or at least the booth did, the rest of the late-night crowd carrying on obliviously around us. Not heavy quiet, just still, the way air gets right before weather changes. She reached over and took my hand, the fries going cold and forgotten between us, fingers closing around mine like she'd already decided this a while ago, and had just been waiting for the right uninvited game. For the record, she said, I've actually known your league schedule for months. I just never told you I was checking it. I told myself it was just curiosity. It wasn't just curiosity. It was extremely not just curiosity. That landed harder than the confession had. The diner's ancient jukebox, sitting unused in the corner for most of the night, crackled suddenly to life with a song neither of us had requested, startling the booth behind us into laughter. And the spell broke just enough for both of us to laugh too. Even the jukebox has opinions about our timing, Adaize said. It's been listening to 7 years of Almost. I think it's relieved too. We should probably actually eat these fries before they're a complete loss. 3 months later, Adaize's comeback wall photo album had a new, mostly unrelated addition. A photo of me icing my knee after an overly enthusiastic game, captioned, in her handwriting, added to the wall on a technicality. We still argue about whether I'm theoretical or actually athletic. I maintain I'm both, depending on the night. A year after that, when the mutual friend who'd hosted that original housewarming threw an anniversary party, she made a toast mentioning, with visible satisfaction, that she'd been waiting 7 years for the two of us to admit what everyone else in the friend group had apparently already figured out somewhere around year 3. Daisy did not deny it. By then she'd become a permanent fixture at every game, no invitation required, occupying the same general bleacher section every single time, a habit neither of us bothered questioning anymore. She still keeps her comeback wall, and I've become a regular, if reluctant, audience for the 40th viewing of every entry on it. 2 years later, when people ask how we met, I tell them the housewarming, because it's the true one. Daisy always adds the uninvited game part, because she says that's the part that actually mattered. The night she stopped waiting for an invitation and just decided to show up anyway. Nothing about us looks dramatic from the outside. We still argue about movie endings. She still shows everyone her comeback wall unprompted. The only real difference is that now, when she shows up somewhere uninvited, I already know exactly what it means. It wasn't new, in the end. It had probably always been there, underneath 7 years of friendship, waiting for one uninvited gym visit and one missed layup to finally bring it out into the open. What would you have done if your best friend showed up to something you never actually invited her to and told you she wasn't going to miss it? And have you ever shown up for someone before you let yourself admit why you actually wanted to be there? Tell me your story in the comments. If you liked this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.